So today in this video, I want to show you the simplest way, the easiest way to become free of suffering. And this can happen once you understand the simple thing called psychological time. Because if you believe in psychological time, in a psychological self that is going through a psychological time, that's exactly what is fueling the suffering inside of you and the confusion. So you don't have to escape from psychological time once you understand that you're already free from it. And trying to attain knowledge about psychological time will not really make you understand it. So if I'm going to tell you something about psychological time, not for you to just accept this information and know it then, because that you would still be trapped in it. I'm trying to point to something so that you can observe it for yourself, in yourself. So you can observe how the psychological self is creating a psychological time in yourself, and knowing about it intellectually will only perpetuate this mechanism. But observing it, using what I say to really observe it in yourself, will make you understand. But the understanding won't come from the intellect, but it will come from the seeing. So it's really important that this is understood. That I'm not just saying something for you to just accumulate more knowledge, but I'm pointing to something so that you can see with awareness and no longer accumulate knowledge. So when you can see in yourself as you're doing something, for example, as you're walking, as you're talking, as you are cooking, as you're driving, as you're working, whatever, let's say, for example, you're washing the dishes, and as you're doing it, you're already thinking about what you should do next. That's the psychological time. And as you can see, when you are washing the dishes, thought says, I should go and visit my grandma. So I'm trying to stress and be very fast in washing the dishes because I still have to do so many things today, pay the bills, and all the stuff that humans go through. That's when psychological time is operating. And please observe it for yourself as you are going about your day. Even right now, as you're watching this video, observe in yourself if there is the tendency of your mind to say, I'm watching this video now to accumulate knowledge so that I can have a benefit from it and have a better life than I would have had before. So that I can go on as an even better and greater person. And after this video, I will do this, because I believe it will give me something. Just see this tendency in you, see how psychological time is operating in you. And then understand also that when you are facing a situation, when you are caught in psychological time, that you're not really able to respond to the situation with fresh eyes. The mind will automatically come with certain opinions. It will judge the situation according to the memories that have been collected by the mind. So it's not really open to see the what is with fresh eyes. So you cannot really live, and you cannot really solve problems. You can try to solve problems so that it feels better to you on the inside. It's basically a way of avoiding or compromising. But really to see a problem for what it is and not trying to solve it so that it suits me, but really to solve it so that it suits life. That's the difference. See that this is not possible if you are caught in psychological time. Now it sounds very hard. It sounds almost like, okay, this is the game of samsara. and only few chosen ones can escape this game, because it sounds so complicated, and it must be grace that is going to help you on this. But that's also a thought that comes from conditioning. To believe that is also just a belief coming from the psychological mind that wants to perpetuate its existence. So once you understand that this is how your mind works, and please don't just believe in what I say, but observe how your mind works. Observe how your mind is creating an idea of you, someone that's residing in the head and planning everything and looking outward and seeing the world and trying to control things. See this for yourself. And understand this dimension of psychological time. That it's really a never-ending story of misery and separation. Because when you are living according to your psychological self, and you're in contact with another being that's also just limited by this idea of his or her psychological self, then there won't be a real relationship. Two isolated entities trying to communicate and have a relationship, it's not possible. There are going to be triggers. So, but how can you step out of this? Once you realize that this psychological time is a thing, and that it's not based on reality, and that it's just distorting life, that then something in you will realize that believing in it, holding on to it, will just create more misery. And that's not what the ego wants. The ego does not want to create misery. And it's trying to attain freedom. The ego is trying to attain love, paradise, God. The ego wants to have the ultimate pleasure. It wants to feel good, but because it believes in a reality that doesn't exist, in its attempt to attain goodness, it makes everything worse. And once it is realized that it is so, then the ego will say, okay, obviously I want to feel good, I want things to be free of conflict, but I understand that I don't have the power to solve this problem of life. So this whole mechanism of psychological time will just crumble. Ego itself understands that it doesn't have power. And then a very, very simple thing happens. You are here. Part of life, inseparable. You no longer, a thought may appear still that says, I want this. But you're no longer seeing it as a truth of who you are. You no longer see this thought as something that you have thought, that you must follow now, that's like the next chapter. Thought says, I must do this, therefore that's what I'm going to do. But you see it as an appearance, and also you see how it's disappearing, and you're still here, part of this moment. And you see not just yourself, but you see everything, and also see that this body-mind is an inseparable part of this moment. That's when real intelligence can awaken, because you're no longer acting from memory, but you no longer act from certain opinions and things like that, but you see. And then you simply act from the seeing. Because and once you're here, then it could be very good to implement a practice of presence, because that's when you learn to stay present during the day. But if you're practicing presence, but you still haven't understood how destructive this psychological time is, and you haven't seen that it's an illusion, Then you can practice presence, and then after practicing presence, you fall back into psychological time thinking that you're someone that's meditating, sometimes 20 minutes a day. Now you're a psychological self going through the day until you meditate again, and then you're present, hoping for something to happen, maybe enlightenment, maybe awakening, maybe a realization. But the realization doesn't really come, if you ask me, from being aware. It comes from seeing the illusory reality of the psychological time. You see, when you're present, even for just 2 minutes, you will see in this presence, all psychological time comes to an end. That's because it has no reality. And that's a good opportunity to see that you don't have to believe in it ever again. So then the very simple thing, maybe the mind is racing right now, asking itself, okay, but how should I do it? Maybe the mind even says, but I still have to know this and I have to understand this. But really, just that's even more entertainment for the mind. Try not to follow that right now and just be fully here with all sense perceptions. Try to find the problem. And what happens most of the time is, okay, I'm present, fully aware, not interpreting, but there is still a feeling of longing, of something isn't right, something hurts, there's emotional pain maybe. Understand that that's also a part of what is, so there's nothing wrong if you're feeling this. It's not a problem, it's just an unpleasant emotion. And know that when you stay present, it will go away gradually. Because if you would participate in thought again to find out how you can get rid of this feeling, then you would do exactly that which has brought it about. Thinking and struggling, trying to find out, thinking, picking things apart and analyzing is exactly what has created this feeling. It's a feeling of separation, of not being at ease, of not being at home. So when you are arriving at home, which can happen right now when you're aware, then you won't immediately feel relief, but at least you're at home. But when you go out, again, just to find out somewhere in the world how you can get rid of that feeling, you will only strengthen this feeling. So you have to stay at home for a while to see that this feeling will subside. Just stay there. And then find the problem. Try to find the problem then. So, there are two realities. Understanding the false reality will automatically bring you into reality. It's called reality because it's real. But a lot of people call ideas reality. Those are hard facts. When it's in reality, it's just a belief. The only thing that's real is what is being experienced right now. Even if you're trying to fight the experiencer, there's nobody there. There's just awakeness and form. So, and I like practical things because we as human beings, we're sometimes, we have difficult times sometimes. And we want something that is short, so it's a practical thing, a reminder, a practical short reminder that tells you right now what to do. Be present. Be there with your senses. Understand that the whole effort to find a solution in your psyche won't work. It will create more division. Just that. It's a simple thing. This doesn't work, therefore the only thing I can do is non-doing, which is being here. That's the practice.